enhance personal performance. There is no ambitious person who is not concerned with his or her performance. Every self-driven person wants to bring his or her A game into the place of work. However, performance in many cases is just like health. We don't pay close attention to it until there is a problem. Often than not, we operate on autopilot and assume so long as we are getting the work done, performance will be automatic. And the problem with this assumption is that performance, just like other things in business, requires its own space in your to-do list. If well managed, if controlled on a day-to-day basis, it improves, it enhances. And for those of you who are listening to me here tonight and you're employed, nothing can hurt you than when you realize that your boss's perception about your performance and your own perception, your impression about your performance and your supervisor's impression are totally different. It can bring emptiness, confusion, and frustration that you never thought possible about your work life. And to avoid ever reaching that point, I suggest before proceeding with anything else at this early stage of this presentation, make it a personal effort to develop your personal performance template. Not the one you're given by the company, maybe from a certain performance system like bar and scorecard, not the one you're given or told to fill by your boss, a certain performance evaluation appraisal form, but to develop your personal performance template to ensure you are at sync with your immediate supervisor. To always be sure you don't veer off from her expectations, from his expectations. Because truth be told, many employees by the time they are going through reviews, they're in a culture shock when they're being told they did not perform. And this culture shock makes us either, number one, we decide to resign because we can't handle the emotional tearing. Or number two, we now claim to have clarified our purpose and we want to get out and be on our own, become our own boss, not because we had planned for it, but we react emotionally. We get into business through waking emotions. You know, when you're woken up by a clock, a waking clock, we don't like calling them alarm clocks here, we don't like using negative words. You're woken up by a waking up clock. Then you may not be emotionally stable. You may not be set for that business. So I suggest today, be sure to develop a personal template form that you can be using in your one-on-one weekly meetings with your direct boss. I know most of you have weekly meetings, but if you're in an organization whereby your boss is elusive and you don't have those weekly forums, I strongly suggest them for her or for him. Even if they're traveling, you'd rather do a conference call, but ensure you do what I'm calling a weekly meeting with your boss. That way you realize you don't digress too much between what you thought is performance and what he or she thinks is your performance. Let me make it clear. Most employees assume it is the work of your supervisor to check your performance evaluation. We normally assume it is the job of management to do performance reviews. The truth is this, nobody really cares about your personal performance. If you're reporting to a departmental head, their major concern is the departmental bottom line. If you're reporting to the CEO, which is rare, but in the event there's someone here reporting to the CEO, then her concern is the enterprise bottom line, not your personal performance. I want you to know this, your performance or non-performance, she doesn't have to live with it. She has options. It's not her job. It's not her bonus. It's not her career. It's not her future. You're the only one concerned with your personal performance. Realize this, success is a negotiated process. Build relationships. Create alliances. Control the factors that affect your work life. Stop pushing rocks uphill. Secure early wins. Even your personal development is squarely in your hands. You know, most of us assume it is the work of HR or our boss or the company to take us for personal development workshops. But I know most supervisors, if you suggested you can do a certain program without necessarily interfering with your work, you can do it, say, online. They will support it. Some of them may even sponsor you for it. I know it. We have developed online programs, and there are a couple of people whose businesses, their organizations have actually sponsored them. Because you learn at your own pace, you don't get out of your work, it is relatively much more affordable than traditional classrooms. Winners train, losers complain. Today, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I want to share with you a 7-step procedure on peak performance, on how to enhance your performance. I believe with all my heart, if you follow what I'm going to teach in the next about 1.5 hours, your performance will not be the same again. Step number 1, take 100% responsibility. Take 100% responsibility. Now, responsibility is a contraction of 2 words, response and ability. Your ability to respond to your environment. Notice I didn't say react, otherwise the word would be reactability. It is your ability to respond, not to react to your environment. Why should you take 100% responsibility? I can give you a couple of reasons. Number 1, when you take responsibility, you have the power to change. You've got the power to change circumstances to improve your performance. When you take responsibility, you say that your performance is 100% squarely in your hands. When you apportion blame to someone else, you relinquish that power. And here is how it works. When you blame someone else for your performance, you are saying this: for future outcomes to change, for future circumstances to change, then someone else needs to change. And you see, you have no power to change someone else. It is true, as human beings, we influence each other. And what I'm going to share with you tonight, even what I'm sharing right now, is influencing your decisions. But the decision to change is in your hands. It's your prerogative to change. So we don't become better by chance. We become better by change. Destiny, therefore, is not a matter of chance. It's a question of change. It's a question of choice. Your future, how bright or dull it is, depends on the choices you make. Family, your brother, your sister, is a chance. Friends is a choice. Meeting people is a chance. Here, there are people you've met right now for their very first time. Choosing to make friends and networks out of this forum is a choice. Falling in love, in many cases, is a chance. Who you meet when and where. Staying in love is a choice. Getting angry is a chance. Getting angry is a human emotion, which you can't deny it. Denying it is denying your humanity. But staying angry is a choice. Quarreling is a choice. You know, excuses fuel dysfunctional thinking. I hear weird statements coming from people. He took advantage of me, I was so young. Were you the only one at that age? Are there other people at your age who are not taken advantage of? You see, the moment you say he took advantage of you, you've relinquished your power to change future situations in your life. Then people can always take advantage of you. Because it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the guys who take advantage of others. Well, this was not required of me in my previous job. This is not your previous job. Study this job. I don't know what's required of me. I wasn't given a JD. It's your job to find out your job description. Others are not performing. Why me? Why do you want to justify failure? The fact that others are not performing is not a justification. And occasionally you hear people saying they're setting me up for failure. No one sets you up for failure. They are too busy with their own issues. Only you can set yourself up for failure. In fact, I love the words of Jim Rohn. He says, and I quote, you can only have either of the 2 options. Either you become good during the planting season, that's the spring, or you begin to beg during the harvest season, during the fall. Either of the 2, but you can't have both. When you take responsibility, you have the power to change. Secondly, when you take responsibility, you are a man and a woman of a character. Men and women of character take responsibility. When responsibility comes calling, what you do or don't do reveals your character. You see, maturity is when you stop saying, it got lost, and begin to say, I lost it. Maturity is when you realize it's your responsibility to fix dinner and begin to appreciate when someone else fixes dinner. Maturity is when you realize it's your responsibility to iron your clothes. Then you appreciate if someone else irons your clothes. Maturity is when you realize it's your responsibility to pay your bills. Then you appreciate whatever other person in that house brings on the table. You appreciate their contribution. Maturity is when you realize it's your responsibility to raise your children. Then you never quarrel in a teacher or anyone else making a contribution to your child. You see, it's very easy to go to school and quarrel the teachers. It is a sign of irresponsibility. Maturity is realizing you're responsible for your life. Only then do you begin to appreciate others. You see, responsibility begins where entitlement ends. It is very easy to blame others. But I tell you the truth, every time you apportion blame to someone else, even if you escape the consequences at the time being, make no mistake, it will catch up with you later on. It would have been better if you took responsibility, you stepped up to the situation then. Why take responsibility? Number 3. When you take responsibility, you're coachable. You are coachable. When you take responsibility, you are coachable. You see, when you take responsibility of your performance and you admit that you're ready to improve and each one of us here can get better, then you open yourself up for coaching and support from others. When you act like you've got your act together, then others don't know when and where to help you. Why take responsibility? Number 4, when you take responsibility, you earn respect. When people who failed to perform in your department or elsewhere realize that you're not going to throw them under the bus to save your skin, they begin to respect you and to admire you. You begin to earn admiration from others because they realize you're mature. You see, responsible people can see responsibility from a distance. Why take responsibility? Number 5, when you take responsibility, personal responsibility, it frees you from your past. You see, many times we fear that if we confess our mistakes, if we own up our shortcomings, if we admit we made poor decisions or we didn't deliver, it's going to be used against us. We are going to be set up for politics or other risks, which is partially true. There are some people who can take advantage of your vulnerability when you're down and kick you more. But that's the exception than the rule. More often than not, when you take responsibility, it is very empowering. It frees you from the deflection and the denial, that energy you spend trying to deviate people from what you did or did not do. And you use that energy to change future outcomes. For example, when our DP admitted to have gotten a child outside wedlock and he said it publicly, he immediately disarmed the media and all his detractors. You have no other story to look for. You agree? You see, when you take responsibility, you disarm people and your critics because they have no business digging into your past to prove you wrong. You've already owned up. It frees you from your past. Number 6, when you take responsibility, you model leadership. You see, when you take responsibility that you did not reach the expectations, you fell short of your targets, then you communicate a message to others. It's human not to meet expectations. Fallibility does not mean the end of your career or the end of the world. Fallibility confirms you're human. If I divorce and I take responsibility, rather than giving stories about what happened to my ex, I confirm I'm human. And that's why Moses gave divorce certificates. For example, a lot of people, when they lose job, the number one thing they tell us is about their boss. Do you know when you say that, you're telling us what we have had all the time? So why say it? It doesn't help you. One, we don't trust you. We still think you didn't perform. Why not investigate why someone else is climbing up along the same company under the same economic conditions? If your business fails and you stop blaming the government, the tax regime, and you take personal responsibility because the government didn't tell you to start that business. Is there anyone here who was told by the president to start a business? So you must have analyzed that you're able to do that business. Why is it that we take responsibility when it succeeds? And when it fails, the government, the taxes. You can't have your cake and eat it at the same time. But when you take responsibility, you begin to analyze, are there other people succeeding in the same line of business under the same economic conditions? So I urge you, ladies and gentlemen, when you fail, take personal responsibility. Now, I have used the word fail very deliberately because you're going to fail from time to time. One of the richest men on earth, and we were lucky with Mercy, we went to Guernsey Island. And when we were passing by, Richard Branson was driving in an open car. Richard Branson said this, show me an entrepreneur who has never failed, and I'll show you a liar. What you need to do, however, is to turn every failure into a learning lesson. Only God gets it right the very first time. You and me are likely to make a lot of mistakes, but they should not define us. So own up and form a habit of asking your close peers, your subordinate, your superiors, your clients, in what way can I improve? In which area can I improve? You see, when you do that, very few people do that. Very few people ask. You gain respect. You stand out from the rest. We all become conscious that you're very conscious about your own performance. Let me see whether we are communicating. On your screen, I'm going to ask you a few things. And you're going to tell me whether there's a chance or a choice. Is that okay? Let's try. Let's try. I just test. Sisters. Your sister? Chance or choice? Chance. You couldn't control those genes. Height? Chance. So there's nothing much you can do. Have you seen anyone who changed their height out of plastic surgery? Weight? Yes. You agree with me it's a choice? Then you're liberated. You can imagine I was teaching these guys about weight in the cruise, and the meals were like 10 times a day. Personality? Personality? Chance. You don't choose your personality. Go back to our notes. Listen to personality dramas. It's on YouTube. IQ? Chance, correct. EQ? Choice. It's elastic. You can improve it. Drug abuse? Even if it's your own son. Even if it's your brother. How about if it's your mother? It's still a choice. Friends? Choice. What about when they are gay? See, this question is safe to ask in Kenya. Because in some countries they think this is a chance. Definitely this is a choice. I know 100% of these people listening to me, none of them is gay. Gayism is a choice. Divorce? Choice. Wow, we are learning that fast. Promotion? Pregnancy? It's debatable, eh? It's very debatable. Wow, there's a debate there. So let me leave it. Children, how many children you get? If you get a dozen kids, it's again debatable. I'll not go there. We know all children come from God. But it's a human responsibility. Let's leave it. Step number 2. Take charge of your time. True story. There is a manager, name withheld. He was looking for a job in a certain company that was collapsing. They denied him the chance for a while, but anyway, because they were about to close, they decided to give him an opportunity. When he went there, he held a board meeting with the senior management and said he wants to be given space to do it his own way for 6 months. He doesn't want any interference from the board. They obliged. The following morning, exactly 8 in the morning, he called the entire sales team and he asked them a very simple question. What can't you see here? And they reasoned a lot. They looked around on the wall, ceiling, floor, anywhere. Then one of them raised their hand and said, there is no, chalkboard or flip charts for training. Another one said, well, we don't have the medals for past accomplishments. Another one said, we don't have the salesperson of the month or the year. A brilliant one said, we don't have a working plan. We don't have an organizer. When they were exhausted, he looked at them and said, there's only one thing we are lacking here. There are no customers here. Get out! Let's meet tomorrow at 8 in the morning. End of meeting. 8 o'clock the following morning. One more thing was missing in the meeting. There were no chairs. He got all the chairs out. Then he told them, get out. Tomorrow we meet again, 8 in the morning. They had expected very nice, inspiring, motivational speeches. The meeting lasted 2 minutes. There are no customers here. Get out! 90% resigned. But the funny thing is this. About 10% who were left were the turnaround employees. Now, there is something this guy understood, which I want to teach you. He may not have used the words I'm going to use, but he understood the difference between significant time and common time. Maybe these terms have not been used before the way I'm using them, but I know he understood. He designated significant time from common time. You see, in the art of war, Sun Tzu says, or rather writes, invisibility lies in defense, but the possibility of victory in attack. Invisibility means strength. The possibility of victory in the battlefront, where the enemy is. This sales manager understood the only way to turn around this business is in the battlefield, where the customers are, where we can be objected, where we risk to be rejected and to be kicked out. Right there, the battleground is the only place we can have a turnaround in this company, and even for individuals who are working in this company. He understood the difference between significant time and common time. That's what I want to teach you tonight. Significant time is during your performance. Common time is preparing for the performance behind the scenes. Significant time is when you're scoring the goal. Common time is when you're playing the game. Remember this, it doesn't matter how well you played the game. The guy who is going to carry the medal home is the one who scores the goal. It doesn't matter the number of passes. France carried the ball home, but they didn't necessarily have the best quality. Significant time is in the presence of the prospect. Common time is when you're planning to see the prospect, when you're calling the prospect, on your way to see the prospect, when you're analyzing how you are able to pitch for your case. That's common time. The reason I'm saying this, often than not, we confuse courtesy for consent. We imagine simply because we received warm reception, it turns out to business. Don't confuse motion with meaning. Don't mistake movement with progress. Going where? This sales manager understood in the office making calls in the name of planning your diary is all common time. Significant time was in the market where the customers are. That's where the butter and the bread intersect. If you use your significant time doing common things, you'll always lag behind in your curve. If you consistently lag behind in your schedule, you'll lag behind in your bills. You've got to say no to doing significant things during common time. Do not overcommit. Don't let your mouth overburden your back. Focus on your core. Delegate or outsource the rest. Let me get personal here. For me, my core is message delivery. It's my public speaking engagements. This is my natural element. Outside that and content development, I can outsource and delegate. Now, many business leaders hearing my voice tonight, there's a very high temptation in that corporate organization of trying to run the entire value chain because you have the most skin in the group. And I want to tell you this, any single task you do that is not in line with your natural talents is a performance killer. Significant time must be spent along your area of talent, period, not logistics. Here's the deal. Outsource anything that is outside your area of talent, no matter how painful it is. Now, entrepreneurs are very notorious at this. Simply because you started the business, you feel there's no one else who is as passionate with that business as you are. And you want to do entirely everything in that business. And I suggest tonight, hire someone or people who are equally purpose-driven about that company, about that business, just as you are. Because if you consistently do things that are not in line with your talents, you will no longer be excited by your work. Those tasks that are outside your talent are freaking exhausting, and you'll sap the energy out of your bones. Be more alert about time stealers. Time is your core capital. Be very careful not to allow intruders and detractors to sneak into your life through the back door of gadgets. Learn to work offline as much as practically possible. These things I tell you tonight are practical. I practice them day in, day out. I'm sure today my phone has been on for less than 1 hour. Even during your family dinner, that's significant time for your relational goals. Don't allow outsiders to sneak through gadgets. Lock them out of that door. You have very little time at home, perhaps only 2-3 hours. Most of the other time you're out there in the marketplace. Don't confuse play and work. While at work, work. While at play, play. Don't take your work to the treadmill. While at the gym, be at the gym. While at work, be at work. Don't be the office joker. The office can hire a wag to entertain people. Work is too serious for you to be one more entertainment manager. While at work, work. And there's no job that is menial. Every job is noble. Even if you don't like the job you're doing right now, if it is a stepping stone to where you're going, give it the seriousness it's due. Success requires commitment. And I urge you after this meeting, take charge of your time. And the most critical hour of your day are the early hours. I know we can debate about this subject the whole night, because in our midst are early birds and we have night owls. But I know without a shadow of doubt, the late night sleepers often than not waste time somewhere. It doesn't have to be doing something bad. It could just be chatting. But there is something that is not accounted for. It's okay if you have accounted for the chatting. But it's a lot of times it is not accounted for at all. Do you know nobody will wake up 4 in the morning to start chatting? Do you know when you wake up early in the morning, you don't even have the mood to engage people. You just want to have some me time and some reflection. You lose 1 hour in the morning and you start looking for it the whole day. When you're busy dreaming in the morning, others are up chasing after their dreams. Did you know most obese people are late night sleepers? Did you know why? Because, by the way, this is not a joke. On average, most overweight people are late night sleepers, and there's a reason. There could be many reasons, but one major reason is this. When you stay late night, by midnight, you're already hungry again. You take another lunch at night. Then you wake up late, you can't take proper breakfast. So you take your breakfast 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they've developed a term for it, brunch. And they'll still take lunch and say, you know, I don't eat a lot. You check. I can tell you this. A lot of people had the privilege of meeting Dr. James Mwangi. One day, I was speaking there to his regional and branch managers, and some of them are in our midst. I can see them here. And I had the privilege of sitting with him for almost an hour, taking coffee with him. And at some point, we reached a stalemate. He was asking me questions, I was asking him questions. I knew I didn't want to tell him much. I just wanted to ask him because this is my senior. I needed to learn from him. But he's very cunning. He wanted to ask me questions. So we were throwing questions. So anyway, at some point, I outmaneuvered him and I fixed him with a bunch of questions. But the most important question I asked him is the one I'm going to tell you right now. What time do you wake up? And what shocked me is not what time he wakes up, it's what time he sleeps. He told me he sleeps at 9 o'clock. There are many things we talked, but that was my take home. You see, if you sleep at 9 o'clock, you escape a lot of evils. It's true. I've told you nobody wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning to drink whiskey. Nobody. But you can transnight until 6. But did you know Jesus was an early riser? Did you know that? Yeah. Mark 1:35. Early in the morning, a great while before day, Jesus rose, went to a solitary place. There he prayed. Like any other goal in life, you can't start waking up early suddenly. You're going to overburden yourself. Just cheat yourself a little bit. Decide today you're going to sleep 15 minutes earlier so that tomorrow you wake up 15 minutes earlier. Tomorrow, sleep 20 minutes earlier, wake up 20 minutes earlier. Are you going to get sleep? Of course no. You have been staying late. So what do? Pick a book. Start reading, not e-book. If you read e-book, it is going to interfere with your circadian rhythm all the more. But if you read a hard book, you'll be shocked by the time you sleep. It's equivalent to counting 1 until 500 when you're closing your eyes. Some of these books, when you start reading them, they're too soothing. You know, there's an argument in Africa. To survive in the jungle, a gazelle has to outrun the fastest cheetah. And for the cheetah to survive, it has to run faster than the slowest gazelle. But either way, when the sun comes up, you would rather be found running. That's not my original quote. It's an African proverb. Can you go to step number 3? Set goals. Step number 3, set goals. Now, I'll be very frank here. For a topic like the one I'm doing tonight, I would have preferred to give you all the 7 steps from the beginning the way I normally do. The reason I didn't do this, I knew some of you, when you hear the word setting goals, you will be off. Because you think and you believe you know how to set goals. This is a topic you have had since primary school. But if you have worked with me so closely, you will realize we have tried to bring a new aspect to setting goals every single year. Let me refresh your memory. Because I've done this for the last 3 years, bringing a new angle to it. But in January, because we do this every single new year, we teach you about setting goals. And in January 2016, I taught about setting goals every 90 days. In January 2017, I brought another aspect of setting goals, 3-level goals: familiar level, conventional level, and dream level. So serious is this argument that I still use that concept when I'm teaching 12 hours of transformation. And then this year, January, I taught you another aspect of setting goals in a message dubbed New Beginnings. And I taught you about winning every day. And I emphasized that a lot, and I brought another cool tool we call the organizer. I would have preferred to give you this message in New Year, January. Then I realized the message was too heavy, I had to cut it into 2. So we still have a message for New Year. Today also, I want to bring a new aspect to setting goals, a new angle to setting goals. And just to pick a few thoughts on your screen, I want to ask you a question. Just study that. I'm going to ask you a question. Look at the 4 quadrants closely. The first one, I'm saying these are low simplicity goals with low impact. Low simplicity means it's a difficult goal to do. The second quadrant, they are easy to do, but they have low impact. The third quadrant, they are hard goals to do, but they have high impact. And the last quadrant, the goals are easy to implement and they have high impact. Now, I want you to talk to me. Out of the 4 quadrants, which one would you implement first? 4. Which one would you implement last? Number 1. Fantastic. Now, why am I bringing this? It is true I emphasized a lot in January the need to win every day. You recall I said set goals per every weekend for a week, the weekend before. Every day, the night before. Here is the simple deal. You'll never learn how to set 3-year goals until you learn how to set your annual goals. You've got to learn algebra before you can learn calculus. You've got to run a mile before you can attempt 10 miles. You've got to join us at Kilimabogo before you dare Mount Kenya. You've got to learn how to fast for a day before you can do it for a week. This is the truth. If you cannot learn how to prioritize 1-day goals, you cannot do it for a year. So I want to suggest this. Think about your day tomorrow, or maybe Monday to be precise. It's a working day. If you are to accomplish only one thing that day, the whole day, which one thing is this? That's the one I'm giving Q for. Which one thing is this? If you are to accomplish only one, give it your all. But don't decide it when you wake up. Decide it the night before. Don't decide it at the emotion of the moment. Decide it the night before. Decide the goals for the week, the weekend before. Decide the days for tomorrow, the night before. Otherwise, you're going to adjust your goals conveniently. If there's a client you're meant to see in industrial area and there is heavy traffic, you're going to change the route, perhaps to Westlands. If this was a hired client who is giving you a corporate account and you have already earmarked him, go there. See, the most important goals are the ones you don't violate at all. There's something Jack Ma once said, which is very interesting. He said, in your 20s, join a corporate organization. Learn as much as you can. In your 30s, try something you can afford to lose. In your 40s, do what you know. In your 50s, teach what you know. In your 60s, play with your grandchildren. Quite an advice there. Now, since most of you right here are in a place where you can afford to lose and a place where you need to do what you know or teach what you know, I want to give you a few thoughts about goals. Because for many of us, perhaps listening to me here, where you are right now reminds you of your faults and defects. It reminds you of your shortcomings. It reminds you, perhaps, of missteps. But a goal points to a desired place. A goal reignites the fire of possibility. A goal points you to a place you desire, not where you regret. And in fact, I want to encourage you to set very ambitious goals. There's no such a thing as an unrealistic goal, only unrealistic deadlines. So put a timeline to your goals. A timeline converts a dream into a goal. Success has no quantum leaps. Just small wins, cumulative small wins. While setting goals, as much as practically possible, use numbers. Even for qualitative goals, they are still measurable. You see, goals without metrics and timelines are wishes written by beggars. Put a timeline and a metric to it. Then believe in peer review. Share your goal with someone else. Don't wrap your goals beneath you as though they were military secrets. Because you want to surprise people someday, you'll surprise yourself in non-performance. Do you know the main reason why we don't want to share goals? It's not because we want to surprise others. It's because we fear commitment. We know when we share a goal with someone else, they will put us on our toes. They will keep checking, did you do what you said you're going to do? So tell your neighbor, a shared commitment is a strong commitment. So ask your neighbor one more time, who do you share your goals with? You know, I do executive coaching for some hired guys. And I can tell you this, a lot of people who achieve goals have coaches. You know, there are people you don't see in this meeting, and I coach them. The same money I would have paid the organization speaking to 200 people, they pay for one individual. And we have a clear, structured coaching program. And the main reason is not because they're looking for anything new from me or from information. They are looking for someone they can be accountable to. And you come up with someone, even if it's a peer review or an accountability partner, you're required to work for 6 days. That's God's calendar, 6 days. So give Saturday afternoon from 2 o'clock all the way to 5 o'clock for your goals with your accountability partner. And check them on a weekly basis. You can never go wrong if you review yourself that much. Sometimes this requires help. So you might need to look for a coach. You know, performance in many ways is just like playing in the big leagues. Athletes of all nature, like footballers or tennis players, believe me, they have coaches who assess their performance. Is that a fact? Yes. You know, burrowing your nose in a book can only take you so far. Sometimes you need a yonder who can convert that learned knowledge into practice, who can show you the ropes of how to play your game. If what Malcolm Gladwell is to go by, he argues in his 10,000 rule, it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. If it takes that long to master a craft, Why not take advantage of other people's learnings to speed up your own success? If somebody else takes an entire lifetime learning about coaching, why not take advantage of them? And I know wherever you are, many companies, there's somebody ahead of you who can help you move forward. If it's not your direct supervisor, there must be someone at the level of your supervisor in that organization who can help you move to the next level. But either way, you need to look for them. The moment you start hiding your goals, you end up missing on your goals. Step number 4, identify the obstacles. We spend an entire lifetime chasing after success. But rarely do we ask ourselves why many times most of us keep missing on our goals. It doesn't matter what goal you set, whether it's a health goal, a relational goal, a financial goal, a career goal, a mental goal. There's something that goal demands from you. There's something that goal requires of you. Often than not, when we look at people who have achieved a lot, we admire the visible signs of success. We often overlook the sacrifices they made. And you see, the road to success is paved with sacrifices. The next time you meet a very successful person, don't be bothered with where they are. That may never help you. Ask them these blocks, these barriers, these obstacles that they had to overcome. Because the truth is, they had to overcome a lot of barriers. You see, chances are very high a number of people listening to me here tonight have launched a lot of projects unsuccessfully, maybe even 10 or more. And let me tell you why. Let me just tell you why. Are you ready? Here's the deal. You launched a certain project, and the very first challenges, you quit. And you jump ship to the next project. Then you realize it was not a cake or walk in the park either. The only reason the guy who is shining right now is because he dealt with this block, while you looked for the path of least resistance, without realizing you had to look for another road and another highway. See, the path of least resistance makes men and rivers crooked. Every goal you set, the next step you need to do is to identify the obstacles. What can stand between me and my goal? There could be many obstacles. Let me just point out some 4. Then I leave you to be the judge. Maybe they might provoke you. Number 1, it's a purposeless life. A life without a purpose. When you have no purpose, you become the guinea pig of every new idea in town. Every new idea, you are the marketer. Because you have no direction, you are available for whatever option comes in town. If you're clear with your purpose, then you know what you're not. You know who you are and you know who you're not. I repeat, wisdom is not just knowing what to do, but even more importantly, knowing what not to do. When you have a purpose, you see beyond this block. You can see what others cannot see. We call it vision. That's what made Martin Luther King Jr. say, I have a dream one day Obama will be the president of America. In other words, my children will never be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He was seeing something beyond this block, 50 years into the future. The man died in 1968. How was he seeing that one day a black man can be a president? You see, when you are living a life of purpose, you stay the course until there's breakthrough. Because there's a purpose. You're not just moving. There's a specific place you're going. So the blocks have to give way. It's like if you're driving somewhere, like from Nairobi to Nakuru. It doesn't matter what you meet along the way. You may change routes, but you keep going towards your destination. But you can't have a vision if you don't discover purpose, because vision reveals purpose. Vision is the extent to which you reveal your purpose. Purpose precedes vision. You know, I've emphasized this many times. I honestly believe with all my heart the beginning of the conversation is aligning who you are with what you do. When what you do is what you love is what you do. And if you have not found your place, please sign up. 13th of October. I run these 2 classes twice a year. Sign up. Let's meet 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. This is the same class I was training guys in the high seas of Mediterranean for 4 evenings. And I encourage you today, it will not be the end of your discovery. It will be the beginning. It will be opening up a new chapter. Self-discovery cannot happen in a single day. It is allowing God to begin speaking to you. It is saying, I have struggled, I have hustled far too long. I think there comes a time where I need to connect with me. I've been moving against current. I need to flow along my purpose in life. Birds never struggle to fly. Fish never struggle to swim. You know, I posted an article. I don't know how many of you saw it. There's a place called rest. When God created Adam, he put him in a garden called Eden. And he was working. He was given an assignment to work. But there were no thistles and briars and thorns and weeds. The enemy had no access to Eden. There was work, but there was no curse. That's the place called rest. Rest does not mean you don't work, but it does mean the enemy cannot plant weed. And you need to connect with God's purposes for you. I'll tell you this, everyone who has connected with their purpose, they still struggle. Life is difficult. Life is not smooth. How much more if you have not connected with your purpose? Are you not the one I'm saying you're pushing rocks upstream? Connect with your purpose. Find your place. Begin to flow in your original intent, what your Maker had for you. One of the reasons we quit from our goals is because those goals were informed because I saw someone else doing it. My high school friend was running that business, so let me try it out. It is not your calling. It is another person's purpose. Second obstacle, negative self-talk. You know, many of us never understand the power of this negative self-talk. We underestimate how we curse ourselves. I'll never make it. There are no customers. Things are so weak in Kenya. Nobody's making money. You know, we loosely speak those words because we have never appreciated the power of negative self-talk. In the past, I've done this illustration before. You see, on 12th of April, 1912, the Titanic hit the iceberg and it began to sink. Regrettably, about 1,500 nobles got lost that evening. Only 700 of them were rescued. Now, if you can see this glass properly, above the water is just the tip of the pen. The iceberg, what they were seeing above the water, is not the true iceberg. It's a reflection of something deeper, deep-rooted. The real problem is beneath the surface, and that's what we call the subconscious. What is below the surface of this water is where the real pen is. The rest is the tip of the pen. So basically the Titanic hit an island, a rock, and that's how it began to capsize and to sink. Every time you make a negative statement, it's a reflection of what is deep-rooted in your subconscious system. Because your words reflect your subconscious system. Your conscious mind implements your conscious orders. It doesn't choose what is good or bad for you. It doesn't act in your best interest. It simply implements what you have been installing day in, day out. And that's why, to undo this negative self-talk, step number one, you need to link up with positive people. Be deliberate to get out of negative people. Who are negative people? People who are always complaining. It's interesting that God Almighty decided every murmurer, every complainer in the wilderness will never reach Canaan. God took it that seriously. And people who are always complaining about their spouse, they are cursing their spouse. People who are complaining about their company, they are cursing their opportunity in that company. Another one is getting blessed right in that company. And it is true, people who keep cursing Kenya rather than offering solutions for Kenya. When I'm at home, I have to raise the issues about home. When I'm away, and I can tell you, Mercy can tell you this, I think I converted enough tourists for Kenya, for real. The last 2 weeks, I converted enough tourists for Kenya. I can't discuss anything negative about this country with a foreigner. But I can do it with you. We can discuss solutions because it's home for us to fix issues. Not complaining, discussing solutions. And I'll continue doing that. I've purposed, I'll not just be doing life skills. have purpose, I'll drive a culture change in this country. And I'm sure you have seen me starting to do that, and I'll take it a notch higher. You remember very well last year, March? We marched around this city over and over again calling for peaceful elections. We knew there would be a dispute in August. But many people complained about it, they murmured about it, they gossiped about it. I'm glad we did something. 10 years to come, we will be judged having been righteous with what was happening in this country. It was not comfortable for us. We didn't do it because it was comfortable, but because it is the right thing to do. So I think there's something I need to do for this country. There's too much corruption, that's true, but I just don't want to talk about it. I think we have to drive a culture change in this country. And I will not wait for you. I will just go ahead. And I believe others will warm up to the discussion. And I've started doing it at serious places right now. I'm having a meeting tomorrow with Kenneth Marende, the former speaker for the National Assembly. And I did it before leaving here with the Senator Speaker, former Speaker, Ekwe Thuro. And I'll continue doing this, and I'll continue giving solutions, and that's what I'm inviting you to do. Stop negative talk and start offering solutions, even for your home. Because you can never rise above your self-talk. What you say is your limiting factor. Number 3, pleasing everyone. Pleasing everyone, especially our seniors. There are a lot of us here who want to do all errands for everyone to gain favor. And believe me, your boss will identify you as an errand girl, as an errand boy. They'll still bypass you in promotion and pick up the person who is strategic. Refuse to play errand boy or errand girl. They are there. They will always be there. Jesus said, the poor will always be with you. Errand boys, errand girls are always there, but they don't come for this meeting. Stop carrying briefcase for someone. You realize in this meeting, I've refused us creating that kind of an atmosphere. I never allow any people here to start walking around with my things, my water. Because I don't want you to copy those behaviors. Jesus was a servant. If Jesus was a preacher in Kenya today, he wouldn't do some of the things we are seeing people doing. And that doesn't mean you don't honor me. Honoring me is not carrying me around. I can walk. How do you think I reached the top of Mount Kenya? Here is the deal. Focus on your work. Number 4, pursuit of perfection. I know a lot of people who never launch anything because they can't launch it until it's perfect. I want to ask you a question. Perfect in whose eye? The state of perfection is not attainable. Don't strive for perfection, strive for excellence. Excellence is going the extra mile, one step at a time, treating every step as an experiment. Let me say this. There are hundreds and hundreds of obstacles between you and your goal. Therefore, they are not a reflection. They are not even a tip of the number of obstacles out there. I suggest this. Analyze in advance, manage them as much as you can, but I give you a caution. There are many obstacles along the way that you can never predict. I call them unfamiliar giants. They will show up as you begin to implement. What is critical for you is to stay the course. Don't quit because of these blocks. Deal with these obstacles, but keep moving. Keep moving. Don't quit. Once you identify the obstacles, step number 5, execute your goal. Life has no rehearsals, only performances. Performance determines the predator in any food chain. A nickel of performance is for the whole world of promises. Past performance produced today's privileges. I'll put it this way. Irrespective of the amount of knowledge you have, irrespective of strong feelings and emotions towards a certain undertaking, execute it. Your strong feelings about something, about a business idea, the much information you have will not produce results until you execute it. You can teach business classes at very high levels and never run business. You can know a lot of politics and never be in parliament or start a consulting house in political science. Execution is the line between talkers and performers. What drives execution? One word: passion. Passion drives execution. There's nothing you can achieve without passion. Can you imagine if somebody was selling to you mangoes? And then you ask him, how are the mangoes? He said, well, I'm not sure. Just try. I haven't tasted them. Can you imagine if there was a guy who was selling, say, apartments, and you ask him, how is the stability of this building? And the marketer tells you, well, you know what? I'm not a structural engineer or the developer, but these cracks don't seem like it's going to fall in the next couple of months. I think it's all right. Can you imagine someone saying to you, I can't say, I haven't tested the bricks. I don't know whether, I'm not sure whether it's got to stop. Start driving. Can you imagine a father-in-law, prospective father-in-law, giving your girl and saying, she's not bad. In fact, on an average year, we don't take her to a mental hospital more than 3 times. Can you imagine a banker who is selling for you fixed deposit account, and then you ask him, how safe is the bank? How stable it is? And the banker tells you, I suspect they will give you back your deposit. Can you imagine an insurance guy who comes to you? Maybe general insurance like a car. Then you ask him a direct question, do they pay claims? And the guy tells you, well, I don't work in the claims department. You know, I was just sent here to ensure you sign the form and give me the money. My job is to collect premiums. Are you going to buy insurance from that guy? You think about any role model you know, whether in business or in music or in arts or in leadership, and you realize they were all passionate with what they were doing. All of them. Why be passionate? Let me give you some 4 reasons on your screen. Passion fuels courage. Passion gives you the courage to start. Passion gives you the courage to rise up when you fall. And passion gives you courage to stare at fear and keep going. As Ambrose Redmond would put it, courage is not the absence of fear, but the judgment that something else is more important than fear. People who start and those who don't start is because those who start something, those who take initiatives have courage. Not because they have all variables under control. They just trust the dots will connect. They will add up. Secondly, passion harbors creativity. People who are passionate, day in, day out, they don't think about anything else except what they're doing. You see, you can never succeed in anything until you're obsessed about it. So they create some quiet time to reflect. And ideas begin to flow. And you wonder, how on earth did you think about this? And other people start sending them ideas because passion is contagious. You can tell whether someone is passionate or not about what they are saying. And passion is not revealed by what you say, it's revealed by what you do. Of course, what you do and what you say must be in congruence. Thirdly, passion maintains focus. If you have the latest news about every girl, every boy you are together in college, you are a gossiper. If you have the latest updates about everyone whom you parted in college 20 years ago, you know where they live, what they are doing, where they work. You are such a rumor monger operating on 80 degrees far away from the successful. How and when do you collect this data? Who pays for your surveys? Seriously speaking. You realize people who are focused do not get to know so many stories except what they're doing. They can say like the Apostle Paul, this one thing I do. They don't want to know many things. They just want to know what they're doing. Now, this may upset some people, but not the successful. Because the equally focused people are concentrating with your area. And they want you to concentrate with your area because when you don't focus on your craft, you start becoming a bother. So even when we meet for coaching, you have direct questions. You will not consume time in vain. Number 4, passion beats talent. Let me say this. I can tell you historically speaking, all men and women who succeeded in all fields of endeavor, they have agreed this one thing. Passion beats talent any day. Any day. In fact, arguably the greatest scientist of the last century, Albert Einstein, would say it this way. I don't think I'm uniquely talented, but I'm passionately curious. The 30th president of the US, Calvin Coolidge, one of the most popular quotes of all times, he would say this. Nothing in the world would take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Doesn't that agree with the scriptures? Whatever your heart finds to do, do it passionately. Direct quotation, do it with all your might. If you've been attending our meetings, this is one of the 5 scriptures I quote from time to time. Ecclesiastes 9:11. Echoing the same words, the psalmist would say this about the Christ. Chapter 69, verse 9. The zeal of your house has consumed me. Zeal, passion, consuming desire to succeed. Without that, no goal will be executed. You see, I picked this picture because this is a dangerous climb. When men and women of passion see the possibility of peaking, men of fear see the possibility of falling. When men and women of passion see the possibility of succeeding, men and women of fear see the possibility of failure. Where do you lie? Step number 6, evaluate those goals. Evaluate performance. I developed a very simple model just to discuss about evaluating performance. You know, sometimes we don't take evaluation seriously. And without reviewing performance, you can coast over ignoring your pitfalls and you continue to repeat them over and over again. Similarly, without reviewing your goals, you can overlook your own performance and thereby miss a chance to give yourself a good pat on the back because you don't know whether you achieved it or not. So that's why I suggest today, evaluate performance. And if you look at this model, it's cyclic. If I may take just a few moments to go through it. The first step, clarify your assignment. A lot of us assume we know our job. Can I ask you this? Are there people listening to me here today? If you look at your appointment letter and the job description you're given and what you're doing right now, they're fundamentally different stories. Does that make sense? The job has mutated over and over again. And you realize every single quarter, things keep changing. So clarify the assignment. Don't assume you know what is your assignment. How do you clarify it? Through writing. Step number 2, review goals every 90 days. Every single quarter. Don't wait for others to review you. In fact, let me give you a word here to freelancers. Most people who are employed, this happens. Unfortunately, many people who are employed, they wait until performance reviews are done by the organization. Most freelancers listening to me here tonight, and those who will ever listen to this video recording, need to look for a job quickly. And here's the reason. I don't have the exact statistics, but I estimate less than 1% of freelancers succeed. And those who succeed have astronomical levels of success. Why the majority never succeed is simply because they do not understand supervision and they do not want supervision. The primary reason they left corporate organizations is because they do not want supervision. And freelancing is not a soft landing. When you quit there and you're not strong enough to review yourself over and over again, you realize that no one can punish non-performance as a freelancer. 1-2 years later, you are far beneath the people you left in a corporate setup. In fact, if you're listening to me and you're still in your 20s, and you're calling yourself a freelancer, and you're still in your 30s, think twice. This is not a safe place for many people. But Doc, are you not the one who tell us about purpose? Purpose for who? Purpose for people who understand reviewing performance. People who do not require supervision. You know, it's very easy to write in your CV, I can work at a minimum supervision. Is the other thing when you're released? To see what to do with no supervision. If you see freelancers around you, ask them critically whether they need to go back and look for a place where they will be supervised. Because I've lived long enough to tell you this, most of them are miserable failures. And that's why you don't inspire people who are employed to quit. They look at you and say, my God, even kuko. And the only reason is one, because you're not reviewing. Because the human nature is this, you relax when you're not under supervision. Now, the irony is this. The freelancers who know what they are doing, they burn out. They tend to overwork. That's why the few who succeed in freelancing do exceptionally well. Step number 3, link behavior to results. Ask yourself difficult questions. How much business have I gotten from playing golf course? Or from going to this social club? How many pitches converted into real business? Check every single activity you do and directly link the behaviors. If a program is not working, cancel it. And check which activities lead to what. That's why I say develop a template that tell you exactly where your business comes from. For example, if you're in insurance and you're listening to me, you might want to come up with your own template and find out, is my core business general or life or pension? Or is it from selling investments? Which is my main stream of income? Where do I need to concentrate? Step number 4, track non-performance. Now, step number 4 is the most tricky. It is very easy to measure performance. It is very difficult to measure non-performance. And here is why. Performance stands out like a ton of diamonds. Non-performance almost always can be explained away. Of course, the boss is the number 1 casualty. The industry is the second casualty. Haven't you seen what is happening in the banking sector? Have you seen what's going on in the insurance industry? You guys, can you see what's going on in the cosmetic? There is no industry that doesn't have strategies. You see, whatever gets measured gets done. If you can't measure non-performance, you can't improve it. So you've got to track what activities led to non-performance. Step number 5, reward desired behavior. Why reward yourself? You get energized, you develop intrinsic motivation to achieve your next target. You see, when you go back to step number 4, it is very easy to track performance. But when you're off tangent, when you're off your game, we don't like checking it out. So check for the 1 or 2 areas you're doing well and reward yourself. Don't reward yourself by eating junk and drinking sour things. Don't reward yourself using leftovers. After paying the bills, you paid Kenya Power, you paid Nairobi Water, you paid the school fees for children, you've helped all the neighbors. And then finally, and you've paid the tithe. Finally, the leftover is me. You're the money-making machine. Learn to appreciate you. What do you have against you? Treat yourself. Give yourself a memorable treat. Purpose to do a lifetime cruise. Who told you it was only appointed for Dr. Ali and Mercy? These are public facilities. You don't know how to do many times like me, but you can plan for a lifetime cruise and treat yourself. My goodness, some of you listening to me here, you've been working for the last 30 years. When did you treat you? Everybody is demanding from you, from your ancestors to your descendants. When do you take time to honestly give yourself something and budget for your reward? It's not a leftover. Does that make sense? Once you reward yourself, clarify your assignment. You've got to clarify your assignment every 90 days, every single quarter, so that you're clear. What am I achieving the next 90 days? Step number 7, and perhaps the most interesting, repeat success patterns. Repeat success patterns. I'm going to teach you an interesting concept. I'm calling it the snowball effect. This might be your take home tonight. And snowball effect simply means something small, something insignificant, which grows into a force to reckon, an unstoppable movement. You see, if a snowball is rolling down a snow-capped hillside, it gains momentum and begins to gain mass and enlarge in surface area. At some point, it becomes a huge snowball that cannot be stopped. That's what I want us to look at that concept today. Let me admit this, I have extremely modified this concept. It may not be what you're going to find in books for the purposes of learning about performance. So I want us to pick some 3 concepts from this. Now, the very first step in the snowball effect, I'm calling it the tipping point. The tipping point. If you do any single activity over and over again, eventually you reach that point that you require just a slight push and the business will roll on its own. or the product, or the service, or the idea, or the message, or the movement. What you need to do is to identify this. The fulcrum could be connections. When you reach here, you overcome the gravity that holds you hostage. You overcome the gravity that keeps you grounded. And the idea begins to propel itself. What leads an idea to what I'm calling the tipping point is repetition. Repeatedly doing what you're doing over and over again. Can I ask you, I want you to be honest with me. Have you witnessed, let me pick 3 examples. A certain pastor, for instance, who has such a huge church, you listen to him, his messages are not so inspiring, and you begin to wonder, what on earth led people to this place? He's an honest guy. I'm not talking of crooks. I'm talking of an honest person. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen a business that started, even the guy cannot explain to you how this thing worked? Have you seen that? The business is so huge, the fellow may not even have reached high school. He's doing such a phenomenal business, and the trick is this. He kept doing it over and over and over again until he reached what I'm calling the tipping point. Why? When you repeat something over and over again, you become an authority in that field. You earn admiration and trust. People begin to trust you. When you do something once, it takes effort to win, but it takes character to repeat. If you repeat it so long, people trust you. People think you're reliable. They know if I want to confirm something about road construction, I'll ask so and so. If I want to confirm something about what I'm digging a borehole, there's a particular guy who has been doing it for the last 20 years. And one day something comes up and he gets such a huge contract for an NGO, from the UN, from government, from a private sector. And I could give you many stories of many people in this city, not elsewhere. At a tipping point, we go to the next level, which I call critical mass. Critical mass. Now, critical mass is a concept borrowed from physics, which implies the volume of nuclear product required to sustain chain reactions in a nuclear explosion. In business, this term simply means the point at which a product becomes self-sustaining, the point at which a business becomes economically viable. And critical mass is a state acquired because of visibility. Remember, tipping point is repetition, doing the same thing over and over again until you tip. Critical mass is constant visibility. That's what causes that. At this particular point, your customers become your brand ambassadors. They become your agents. You know, research shows that you only need 10% of any population in any ecosystem to reach critical mass. Only 10% of the population. And the rest of the world become your agents of change. You see, human beings, generally speaking, do not have an unpopular view. They don't hold an unpopular view. We are all trying to look for a consensus locally. So when change agents begin to preach a certain message over and over again, it becomes our new level, new normal. It becomes our new habit. We begin to believe it. We begin to question our own views. That's why even a lie can spread so fast. As Hitler did it. Because you only need to convince people over and over and over again, and that lie becomes the truth. How much more when you're spreading the truth? And this graduates to the third level and the last level, which I'm calling the domino effect. You notice, unlike the other levels, the domino effect is a bit stable. It's a bit stationary. The rolling is slow. You see, for large economies, you notice they never grow with more than 2%, like the US economy. It hardly grows with more than 2%. But developing economies are doing right now between 7 and 10%, and they definitely can do even 15%. When an organization reaches here, they don't need visibility. They brand for dominance. They brand to maintain so that people don't think they are dying. For CSR purposes, but not because of self-existence. By the time an organization reaches here, domino effect, it becomes a stronghold. People cannot be uprooted out of it. To do so, you require another revolution. For an epidemic to spread, The context may vary. The circumstances will differ. The industry may vary. The cost of new entrants, and many other macroeconomic factors. But I know you have witnessed a stable government, and the next day the government is toppled, like it happened in the Arab Spring, and it is spread all over North Africa. Or a technologically driven idea at novelty stage, and the next moment, none of us can do away with it. An idea comes like WhatsApp or Facebook, and the next moment we are all bound by the idea. It has spread like a virus. Or an idea could be packaged in the fridges of society, and suddenly it becomes mainstream. And then you keep wondering, where did this guy come from? It's called domino effect. You see? But as I said, time may vary from one industry to another, from an individual to another, how fast it takes to reach domino effect. Now, here's the deal. We never reach here a place of dominance, that's why I'm using the word domino, unless we stay the course right from the tipping point. So many of us give up without knowing at what point shall we tip. So my encouragement for you is this. You've got to do what you're doing over and over and over again, because you don't know at what hour you are likely to tip. But my real question tonight, what snowball are you setting in motion? Here is more important. Which snowball do you set in motion every day? I know the snowball that I set in motion. What snowball do you set in motion every day? I'll close by telling you this. There are a lot of people trying to give you secrets of success. And some of you here, don't lift up your hands, have actually walked on hot coal because of a program driven by an individual you all know from the US. I choose not to mention his name. Something he calls mind engineering. You're looking for secrets and shortcuts at the top. I even know one of the greatest media personalities who walked on the hot coal. They go humming those words, ice code, ice code, ice code, ice code. And I know there's a victim here. Your eye is so guilty. But I'll tell you this. Even those people who are so senior who went through the ice code, they never reached there through it. They went there for another public demonstration. The so-called secrets of success are a lie. I can tell you this. I've taken my whole life studying success, whether in politics, whether in business, whether in real estate, whether in medicine, whether you are learning in schools or in education, whether you invest in agriculture, high skill. I've had the privilege of speaking in international food fairs like Dubai Food Fair, February 2005. I spoke in 3 major markets, in Brussels, in Amsterdam, in Paris, way back 2005, October. I've interacted with a lot of people. I've interviewed many people. Some of them I've documented in my books. What I've shared with you tonight, if you implement it, if you follow it, I tell you the truth, and nothing but the truth is the procedure they all followed. All of them, everyone who succeeded, this is the truth and nothing but the truth. Number one, they took responsibility for their success. 100% responsibility. Number two, they took charge of their time. Number three, they learned how to set goals and they put it on paper. They broke it down from 3-year goals to annual goals, to quarterly goals, to weekly goals, to daily goals. Because you can't learn to set annual goals before you learn how to set daily goals. Step number 4, they identified the obstacles between them and their goals, because irrespective of how much you're gifted or talented, there are obstacles between you and your goals. If you don't identify the obstacles, the odds are against you that you're going to achieve your goals. Don't just admire how people are succeeding. Study the roots before you admire the fruits. It's very easy when you see successful people to overlook the price they have paid. There are obstacles between you and your goal. Even the Son of God had to go through that. No human being reach success through an obstacle-free road. There's no such a thing as an obstacle route, free route to success. Step number 5, they executed their goals against fear. They did not allow fear to stop them from executing their goals. Step number 6, they kept on reviewing their goals. They evaluated where they are against where they're supposed to be. And step number 7, they repeated success patterns. They did that thing over and over again. They didn't allow the word monotony to be in their lips. They did it when they felt like and when they didn't feel like. Because when you do something over and over again, it builds passion within you. It builds faith within you. Did you learn anything tonight? Thank you very much. The Lord bless you.